Kenneth and I will introduce a multimedia application called Software Heritage Stories, used to create rich stories for sharing information about legacy code, but also the context in which legacy code was created. And after I introduce a little bit about how data flows through this application and how you can set up your own software story if you'd like, Kenneth will give a demo of the actual application in action. I think many of us gathered here for this event are interested in preserving legacy source code and also making sure that people who are interested in software can explore this source code and learn more about it. Even with the most colorful syntax highlighting, it can sometimes be difficult to read through legacy code. And so we have created an application that allows you to explore legacy source code in the larger context of different pieces of media and different images, videos that relate to the software title itself. So these might be photographs of the software itself. They might be photographs of the people using the software. They might be photographs of the people who created the software. Likewise, perhaps we have existing user manuals related to the software that would be helpful to explore and see alongside the source code itself. And we may want to link to technical standards that relate to some aspect of the software. There's an even larger context of scientific papers that perhaps describe the piece of software or describe a research project in which the software was itself used. We may have materials, photographs, documents related to organizations that were connected to the creation of the software. And there may even be a larger cultural context of the software being used by people throughout its history. Many of you are probably familiar with the different language versions of Wikipedia. There are also many other projects of the Wikimedia Foundation. So if you think about the Wikimedia Foundation as an umbrella organization, they steward projects related to everything from Wikivoyage, a crowdsourced travel guide, Wikimedia Commons, which is a repository of primarily images and video, but also 3D models and other types of media artifacts that anyone can upload content to and also reuse content from. And you can also establish what license you are using to share media that you are uploading and contributing to Commons. And of course, the Wikimedia Foundation also supports the Wikidata project. And Wikidata is a knowledge base of structured data that anyone can edit. And Wikidata is an excellent place to describe software. As of the 1st of October, there were already more than 296,000 software items described in Wikidata, and this number continues to grow. So Wikidata has been around for just under 10 years, and the activity around curating information related to software in Wikidata has been increasing over time. There are a lot of people who are very knowledgeable about software contributing information to Wikidata. And of course, it's an open project. So any of us can also create accounts or even edit anonymously with our IP address to add information to Wikidata about software that we may have information to share. There are also many materials related to software in Wikimedia Commons. And so these might be screenshots of the user interface of a piece of software. They could be photos of the actual disks and software boxes themselves, but they could also be materials relating to artifacts that have been created with the software. And in the demo that you'll see after this part of the presentation, when Kenneth shares the stories application itself, you'll see that we incorporate material from Wikimedia Commons and present it in a IIIF viewer. So IIIF is the International Image Interoperability Framework, and they provide excellent viewers that allow you to explore not just the media themselves, but also rich metadata describing whatever it is that you're showcasing. And so all of the metadata about media files from Commons are also displayed in the viewer that we have integrated into our stories. And this is one of the ways that we display images and video in the software stories. So connecting software heritage repositories with Wikidata items is an important piece of how we connect the legacy source code within the Software Heritage Archive and the structured data about the software title itself coming from Wikidata. Wikidata has a dedicated property for software heritage. It's property P6138, if you'd like to use it. And here is a screenshot of what the statement block looks like for adding a software heritage identifier. So this property is an external identifier property, which means that it stores the value for an external identifier where you can go and find out more information about the item. So this screenshot is a very small snippet of the statements on the Wikidata item for pandas. And here you can see that the software heritage identifier will link you out to the repositories related to pandas in the Software Heritage Archive. So the first step to deciding if the software that you'd like to learn more about is already in Wikidata is to use the search bar. So Wikidata's search bar is here, and you can search for the title. You may need to try a few different things, maybe with the developer listed or just the name of the software. You know, it depends on what labels have been entered for the software. All Wikipedias, all language versions of Wikipedias have all been linked to Wikidata as well. So if you know that there is an article in French Wikipedia, for example, about the software title you're interested in, but you haven't been able to find it in Wikidata, there will be a link to the Wikidata item from that article page in French Wikipedia or English Wikipedia or whatever language version you're looking at. And you can follow that link for the Wikidata item that is in the sidebar of the Wikipedia article to get directly to the Wikidata item that you're interested in. And then you might want to scan down toward the bottom of the set of statements on that software item and check to see if the software heritage identifier property has been used. And if it hasn't, then you might want to find that piece of software in the Software Heritage Archive and go ahead and add the software heritage identifier. You may not find the piece of software you're interested in Wikidata. And we certainly welcome and need more people adding information about software to Wikidata. So there are plenty of opportunities for contributing new information about additional software titles to Wikidata. To streamline that process specifically for people interested in also including content from software heritage, we created this form. It's linked here from the slides, and this is a form using the tool Cradle that is one of the tools in the Wikidata tool ecosystem. And this form is called Software Heritage Software Title, and it will just give you a list of relevant properties and then places where you can fill in your information. So if you are new to Wikidata, you would like to contribute information about a software title, but you're not sure what properties exist in Wikidata, how to find relevant properties, this can be one quick way to at least start a software item in Wikidata and have a little bit of guidance. The Wikidata tool ecosystem has thousands of tools in it, so there are additional tools to support your curation that you can learn about as you become more interested in Wikidata. And then I've been talking a lot about individual items for a software title in Wikidata, but the software stories that Kenneth will demo for you in just a few minutes, they also pull in information from other items in Wikidata that are related to the software item. So these might be items for people, perhaps the developers, designers, or somebody else who contributed to the creation of the software in some way. Or organizations that may be developers, maintainers, sponsors, or some other type of relationship to the software. And for example, these other items might be publications. And so these would be scholarly articles or technical reports or other types of documents where the main subject property has been used to make a statement connecting the item for the paper itself, using the main subject property to connect it to the software title to show that this document is about this particular piece of software. So as the appropriate properties are used across these different items, we can think about the graph of a software neighborhood where you're pulling in information, not just from the software item itself, but also from other closely related items. And then all of the data from Wikidata, Wikimedia Commons, the different language versions of Wikipedia, they can all be combined into a JSON structure for a software story. And the JSON structure is described in this report that I have linked to in the slides, so you can find out more there. And so a little bit more about the data for the story. There's really two categories of how data is moving through the software stories application. So some of it is curated and some of it is automatically created. And so the automatically created content would be all of the relevant Wikidata statements, all of the media artifacts from Commons, the Wikipedia article, if there is one, and those will get automatically added into your software story. We also support another workflow of manually curating additional information related to your story. And so this allows you to add things like article text where you write something about the software, PDF documents from elsewhere on the web, external to projects of the Wikimedia Foundation, iframes of content from other websites that you'd like to include, custom moments where you perhaps want to add something highly specific to a particular piece of software, to an individual story, videos from YouTube, Vimeo, and even more types of content that you can add through a curation workflow. So I'll close here by saying, let's describe more software in Wikidata. Let's add more software heritage IDs to existing software items in Wikidata. And let's create multimedia software stories that we can embed anywhere on the web so that people can explore software source code in context. And to close, I will let everybody know that Wikidata's 10th birthday is the 29th of October. And I have a link here in the slides if you'd like to learn more about any of the birthday events that are happening for Wikidata's 10th birthday. And let's make the next 10 years of Wikidata even more rich in relation to adding information about software to Wikidata. And with that, I'm going to close my discussion of the data portion and hand it over to Kenneth, who is the software engineer who created this application, and he will give you a demo.
Thank you, Kat. I'm sharing my screen now. All right. Thank you, Kat, for the introduction to our application. I'll quickly walk over a little bit of what a user would see in our application, as well as roll back some layers so others can see how we're actually going about getting the data to surfacing it into the application itself, and some of the tools and services we're using behind the scenes. So this is our main landing page for the Software Heritage Stories application. And we've created two separate collections where we have one that focuses on our collaboration with the University of Pisa, and then one with Inria. And over time, we can build out these two collections in parallel. We can build them out together. But one thing that's nice about the collection model is that even if there are some instances of software that share a same Wikidata item, if we want them presented in a different way, or have a different focal point, or provide a different perspective based on the collection, being within a different context, we're able to do so in this model. And so one of our more filled out software stories is the Talmus story. And I'll demonstrate that here today, where, as you can see on the sidebar, there are a bunch of tabs that you can navigate down. The way we lay out a software story is considered where, similar to a PowerPoint presentation, but just including a lot more visual tools, a lot more animations and visualizations, as well as being able to generate more content instead of having to curate every single slide itself. And so this area, we're able to show fully curated articles. We have a CMS built out that you can add rich text, you can add images and video to this article describing the software, and it makes a very nice landing moment. We're also able to integrate with video, whether that's surfaced on YouTube or Vimeo, or as well as uploaded somewhere else on the web. We're able to embed it in here, so you can actually see the software running in action. Just doing a quick snippet where this is what the actual interface looked like, and I have the audio off, but you could actually hear the computer music being played in the background as well. We also have the ability to upload PDF content. So if there are user manuals or guides, or even stories about the software itself, you're able to browse through that metadata and that content all from without having to leave the application. We're also able to generate this data from Wikidata as well as hand curated as well, but for scale, being able to attribute who are all of the developers and composers behind the software related to this title. And so as you scroll through, you can hover over and see what everyone's role is, what their impact was on the project, and so forth. Similarly, we're able to build visualizations in a timeline view, where we can display different versions coupled with other structured metadata, and tell a little bit more of behind the scenes what was going on when the software was being curated. As Kat was mentioning just before, we're able to pull in content from Wikimedia Commons, and on the fly, when the page loads, we generate a IIIF manifest for all of the content in Wikimedia Commons related to this entity, in this case being the Talmus entity in Wikimedia Commons. So every image that is in this category is generated, and this viewer is an open source project called Universal Viewer. And we're not only able to pull in the media files themselves, but also provide attribution for all of the copyright and artistry information and licenses will all show up in this viewer as well. So none of the details get lost as you move from Wikimedia Commons onto our application. Another moment is our library moment, where we're able to generate all of the references that mention Talmus in scholarly publications or articles, where we're able to present it on this library shelf and then provide a deep link directly to the source, so you can actually go right to the content itself. We also have the ability to present information geographically. And for example, Pisa is where almost all of the development took place and where the universities are involved. So naturally the Pisa times or marker will show up on the map. And as there are more developers maybe that were born in different areas or received degrees from other institutions, those will fill up this map view as well. For software heritage, we extended our moment registry to build out a very custom moment for the software heritage archive. And so here we're able to embed a branded view, has software heritage logo, and allows you to deep link directly into the source code itself. So you can click around and actually and see the content itself. And then lastly, I wanted to show that we have the ability to attribute all references to the software, and any claims that are made throughout Wikidata, we're also able to provide the deep links to those claims and provide any learn more and go right to those sources as well. And so you can see clearly here the software heritage identifier, which will deep link you right into this back into the software heritage archive. And so yeah, thank you all so much.
We can use this time maybe to talk a little bit together. Thank you first, Kenneth, for your presentations. We're supposed to have the questions at the end, but maybe we can take a question or two, letting Claude get the Wi-Fi and back. Oh, yeah.
So please, Simone, come here. So Simone Martini from the University of Bologna. Come
Yes,
here, down with us.
Yes,
so I have a question for software stories. That's a repository for that you showed on the Talmus. It's very, very interesting, full of interesting material. But don't you think that we should also need some stories there, some narratives that helps the people arriving, the people that don't know anything about that project to be introduced in the material and to give some key of understanding of that project.
Absolutely. That is a very big part for why we have the first slide being an introduction. We're able to extend that content and build out a full article of what that to provide that full introduction and context for the software itself. And we also integrate with Wikipedia, English Wikipedia, Italian Wikipedia, and we could display if there's a Wikipedia article describing the content or the software, we can display that earlier in the story as well. So yeah, we do provide the ability to have the content management system that would allow you to really tell that story, as well as visuals. We could have a video uploaded where maybe a developer could walk through, or a user of the application could provide a full narrative on what the software entails. That's a great question.
Thank you. Other questions from the room? Yes. Yeah.
So we give some time to close on to set up the thing. So a comment on the question by Simone. Actually, the platform that Katherine Kenneth showed us is a platform that does not replace a full story told by somebody, but it is a beautiful tool that you could have in a museum with somebody who shows things and has a script. If I have a script, I want to tell you about what happened in the history of music in Pisa, I can use this. Imagine to have a touch screen like in a museum like this. I can tell the story, and at the same time, I press a different button and I explain what is going on. Okay, so the scenario is outside the tool for the moment. Okay, it's a tool that allows you to build different scenarios. And that was a platform as it was designed up to now. So then you can, of course, I mean, record the video of somebody using the tool or showing something, for example, but the tool by itself does not replace the scenarization of the presentation.